So when about a month ago, Tim Woffmiller asked me if Pastor Sean was going to be gone, if I would speak. And what was I thinking? He hadn't put that up there. Sorry, Dave. I'll go on and read the scriptures. In Hebrews 8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And from Malachi, I am the Lord, do not change, so you, the descendants of Jacob, are not destroyed. So, what was I thinking? Pastor, I'm going to blame Pastor Sean a little bit for this, because some of the messages he's been giving us encourages us to step out of our comfort zone. And here a couple messages ago from Autumn Trace. Boy, he hit me right between the eyes. I can't remember what the message was, but it was pointed at me, I think. But anyhow, that led to me making that decision when Tim asked me if I'd do it, and I said yes. And Monday morning I get in the office and I sit there and I talk to Barb and I said, what was I thinking? What am I going to talk about? We're kind of brainstorming and kind of figuring out where I was going to go with this. And I had no clue what I would talk about today. And Barb suggested maybe talk about your playing taps for all the military funerals and that. And I told her, I said, no, I don't want to toot my own horn. I'm sorry. But I've seen on the internet, get a lot of, I'm a retired lineman with Jasper County REMC, so I seen this on the internet and I thought, boy, that fits me to a T, because in my last few years at REMC, I got off the line crew and I was doing staking. So if somebody was building a new home, I'd be the one to go out and meet them, see what it took to build electric to the meter where it was going to be positioned, how big a service, and if we had to build electric lines down the road. And sometimes we did major upgrades where we'd build 3 or 4 miles of line. So we're going to talk about the ruling span. That's I'm going to give you a few things I'm going to talk about. The span is the distance between two poles. When I mention sag, that's the sag and the line between those two poles. So we're going to talk about the ruling span of life. And when we use when we build the line, the poles are not all the same distance apart. There's varying reasons why. We got a ditch. We got an entrance to a farm field. We've got pipeline going there. We got to stay 100 feet either side of the pipeline. Can't dig too close to that. And you might have to put a pole to serve a pump or a house, to have a transformer to put a service drop in. So all the spans are different. Now, you got to figure out a ruling span, because the sag of the wire. You just don't pull it up so tight. The ruling span is calculated, and it's a long process. But anyhow, it gives you the average span, throw out the low, the high, and you get the ruling span. So if the ruling span is 240 feet between poles, on 336 wire, which is kind of like the big conductor going down 231, going north out of town, at 90 degrees, you have to take the temperature in consideration. There's 43 inches of bag or sag in that wire from pole to pole at 240 feet. Now at 0, of course at 20 below it gets even a little shorter, but at 0 there's only 16 inches of sag. That wire expands and contracts with the temperature, and there's a 27-inch difference in the sag of the wire. So 100 degrees, we go out there and pull in some wire. We pull it up to 14, 15 inches of sag. Guess what happens at 20 below zero? It's going to break. It's going to be too tight. The tension is going to get to it. So life is a lot like those uneven pull lines. Some seasons are short and easy. Others are long and heavy and full of stress. If we constantly changed our values, our peace, and our faith to match every circumstance, we would eventually snap under the pressure. So God doesn't ask us to create a new standard for every problem we face. He gives us one unchanging standard, himself. Malachi said that the Lord, I do not change. And in Hebrews it reminds us that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. When we anchor our lives to God's unchanging truth, the tension begins to equalize. The circumstances around us may change, but the standard does not. Whatever span you're crossing today, short, long, easy, or difficult, trust the Master's engineering. He already has done the math on the ruling span. Peace comes when we stop adjusting our faith to fit our circumstances and start adjusting our lives to fit God's unchanging standard.